All right, so we are doing Turnaround with Action. This is our project description, and we have multiple resources that are available. The KCAD costume models is one that we would really recommend you to look at. This particular character has a lot of turnarounds, so you might find that just getting these poses is helpful to inspire your work. You can see she's kind of just running that turnaround. We're not doing the classic turnaround like we kind of just saw, where the character is doing the same turnaround pose every time. We're going to work at having different poses in different turnarounds, and also if you have different costume elements or weapons or elemental effects that they are able to do, that would be a place for us to explore that. Mixamo is what I'm going to be demoing today, but there's also a lot of other great resources here. We just made our mood boards. You guys did great at that. The Pinterest collection that I have here is what I like to kind of just dump a whole bunch of character stuff. Basically, we need photo reference in addition to our facial expression references. There's a lot of great stuff there to really push the pose. And then there's two demos that are really helpful. This one, demo on the DLC Mixamo to Photoshop and animation, will tell you how, like step by step, how to get through Mixamo, and then you can actually download the file and bring it into Photoshop. So if you want to later in your process do that where you have an actual animation, that can be effective, but not fully necessary. You can see that we brought a video in, and then the video you can play over, and you can actually work on animating this frame by frame over top, and then you get an animation. So that is an example of bringing that in. This example, bringing Adobe Fuse as a reference. Fuse is no longer available. It's the first time that we've seen that it's not available anymore. It was beta in Adobe and it was not continued. So we're just going to use Mixamo instead. So this first part of this tutorial talks about Fuse, and then it just jumps right into Mixamo. So this is your written out tutorial right here for when you're looking for how to do this and remembering how to do this. There are a few important things to know about, especially the dialog box and stuff like that when you bring it into Photoshop, if you want to bring it in as a 3D image in Photoshop. If you're not concerned about that, you can just really seriously screenshot it in Mixamo and then lighten it out and do your drawing, and then continue the drawing, and then you have your character design based on all of the references that you've picked up from Pinterest. Okay, so let's get back to here. Those two tutorials are going to be like step by step. This has a table of contents. Basically, we're going to now use 3D to kind of be able to do drawings over it, and that's what I'm going to show you next. So getting into Mixamo, you don't have to do this with me right now, although you might want to open up Mixamo and kind of play with it, but I would just recommend for you to watch what I'm doing in here right now. And my internet might be so slow that I'm not going to be able to access this. That might not be good. Let me hit refresh. When you first get into Mixamo, you're going to have to remember your Adobe login and log in with your Adobe login. And it will have a character loaded in there. Usually it will be this kind of standard one. I'm in the animation tab, and then there's also a character tab. So I think it was Al that we were looking at, like maybe using this character for your reference, kind of a cartoony character. But you have so many options. So really all you have to do is find one that kind of matches the proportions of what you're looking for. Lots of pages, and then you would click on it, and it will become what you want. So, but these are actually the animations. So let me see. You would actually start with character. These are all the different characters. So the mannequin is a good one. Sam's using the mannequin. A couple of other people are because it is really so standard. So I'm just going to click on it. So use this character. Because ultimately we're not looking for the costume design so much. We really kind of want a base that we can draw over. So after you find the character that you like, and you can seriously pick from any, some of these brutes are kind of fun. Some of them are so complicated that when you put animations on them, they'll get congested, like their arms will go into their bodies. So you have to do quite a bit of work through that. Now I'm going to click on animations. And this is where I can, once this loads, you can see there's double dagger stab, static double dagger stab with outward grip. They all have different things that they have. I loaded it up 48 per page. You can do more. But we can do things like there's animation genre. If you click into the search, combat, adventure, sport, dance, fantasy, superhero, or skinning test. So let's go for adventure. I'm going to make an adventure character. And so it just popped all of those in there. So that would be one way to search. But an idle is actually a really good one for everybody to do initially. So let's grab idle. I'm going to click on it just once, and that's my idle. Then there's these tools that are here. So I'm recommending for everybody to have an idle pose as a part of your character lineup. So you can see this is his idle pose, and then I've got action poses in different kind of storytelling ways. So in order to get a good 3/4, I can spin it. I'm in this rotation part right here. And so I'm actually able to just click on anywhere in this part and spin it around. Sometimes we want it to be the camera angle completely straight. Often I like it with the camera angle a little bit down so we can see the tops of the feet, and then a little bit more 3/4. You can then pause it just exactly where you want it, and usually you can't get it right on, but then you can just kind of scrub this. And then you can get your angle the way you want it. Looking for things like good negative space, good silhouette. Like you don't want it to be too static. So we want it to be just slightly interesting in an interesting way. So then I would just do a screenshot, Command-Shift-4 on my Mac, and on your PC there's the clipping tool that you can use to work with. I can then bring that into Photoshop. That's my first pose, but then I'm looking for another pose that might be more fun and interesting. Even though these characters are not the character that I'm going to be doing, I can still select the animation. So I'm going to choose running art because that's so dynamic. And oh no, that person's running off the stage. So what you can do to not lose them is you can click on this toggle follow camera, and then they're always on the stage. So now I can pause it. I can get it to be a really good pose. This might be that good floater for, was it Al? You were looking for like a floating pose. So just looking for a really good perspective and angle. You can see that hand is congested, so maybe I kind of come down and do a shot like this, or maybe I do an overhead shot. If we're doing for a game that's a 3D game, maybe we look at it being like this. So think about what kind of game are you doing it for, or what kind of animation are you doing it for. If it's animation, is it best for you to get like a side view that's really, really cool like that? I think that's a good one. I'll Command-Shift-4 that. I'll get this. I will maybe then think about it being an overhead beam. So that's fun, and then I'll spin it a bit. Command Shift 4. So I've got a lot of different examples now. And then, but I can also run little searches with just the search tool. So I can say bow and arrow. Now the character might not have that. Oh, there's nothing. Oh, there is. Shooting arrow. So here you go. So some of you had bow and arrow. We can get at that awesome bow and arrow pose, which is pretty much like right there, and then get at a good perspective for that. So that might be a good pose to do, but it's pretty not interesting, so I'll have to work at how to make it more interesting in Photoshop. And also coming from my photo references for bow shooting or something. So I'd have to go and look at more of those. And that's why we combine the combination of something that's 3D and something that is photo reference. If I do this one, you can get a lot more. Like this is actually much more interesting. The pose is more interesting. And after I do this, I'm going to show you all how to work with this overdrive, character arm space, and stuff like that. That can be helpful, especially if you're doing something that is going to be more more congested as a character, like those super. Let's see, what would be a good pose? Something like that. Cool. Grabbing from the, oops, I don't want that, command period. So remember there's this, what's it called, guys, that you grab your arrow from? Quiver. Oops, my screenshot's too short, so I'm just gonna like do that. Command Shift 4, come way up here, and then do that. So grabbing from the quiver. So the hand is not totally accurate, but we're going to make that more accurate by looking at some photography. So any questions about how to use it? It's pretty amazing, right? You can really get where you need to go. Does anybody have questions specifically about this before I move on to how to do this stuff? Can you see the potential in the project?
Yeah, absolutely. That makes sense.
Yeah, it's good. So with this one, I'll just show you character arm space. Let's actually give it way more arm space. And we'll see it's going to extend it more. Do you see how, let's go back to this pose. So it's just getting way out. And it will feel broken because, you know, it's not a real person, but you're going to get the arm to be able to move to a bigger spot. So that's really the most one that I do. Overdrive is going to be a more exaggeration of the pose, I think is what that is. If you click on something, you should be able to understand what it is. But really, I really only use the arm space. I wonder if overdrive is actually just making it faster. Mirror, we can just totally do that in Photoshop, but you can do that here too. You can just mirror it and it will bring it in. Right? So that's not a big deal there. Now I want to show you, not arrow, but I want to show you one of these bigger, chunkier characters. Let's go with the mutant. So the mutant will have some issues. Any of these larger tank characters, even Maria with her prop, I would say that the prop is actually a great sword. So these characters, what will happen is they will get so congested when you do some of the poses. Boy, this one's really fantastic. That you'll have to play with that character arm space, otherwise it will get too congested. So let's hit the play. You can see that he's gonna do his bow and arrow thing. And so you can see that he goes through his arm. And that happens right here. He slices his hand, ouch. So you can give it more space and hopefully it will go, or you can just fix it in Photoshop. But you can see that there I've allowed for it to have more arm space. But he still kind of slices it. It's pretty sweet. Keegan, this one goes out to you. I know he's not in the room, but oh, I was trying to do a screenshot, but I was missing it. Command Shift 4, and then I grab it, and then I could do drawings over it. And we can have like big, massive, flamey things coming out of it, like when we looked at some of our student examples from previous semesters. You can run special effects coming out of these really sweet characters. So that all happens in Photoshop. But that's essentially it for Mixamo. Just stop in and see me when you're ready for it. So I'm going to take us to the calendar and just give you the introduction of what we're supposed to do next. Like when this is due and everything. So digital character drawing, and course admin, Canvas calendar. So I did adjust and change this morning to be more on track with where we're going for spring break. I hope you all have a great spring break and have some relaxing time for yourself. When you come back, you want to go over any reworks or hand-ins for the midterm grading, I can have just open office hours where you can just come back until 3:30. I just reviewed for you how to get into Mixamo. The hand-in for it, the final hand-in of that entire project will be due on the 25th. So we just did the demo. Next week is break. Take a break. There's nothing to do during this time. So for my class, I want you to just really take a break, live your life, play some games, go for a hike, whatever you want to do, whatever rejuvenates you is really important. There's a lot of stuff going on in the world right now. And I really believe in allowing us to become one with ourselves every once in a while. So go ahead and do that. Individual day on the 18th, work more on the turnaround with action. So you're going to show me your progress. We're going to look through it. And then your reworks for your turnaround with action will be due on the 25th. And I still have to rearrange all this stuff. Our next project will be the character with motion design. But we're going to do this turnaround with action. There's a lot to it. Remember, there's the several costume changes. The action poses the character facial expressions too. And then we'll get into animal studies. So here's the project description. This is the goal, these elements. So when you're making in Mixamo, remember you want to do front view, back view, two different kinds of 3/4 views. Make sure that those are in different kinds of poses. I think I'm not sharing my screen with you. I was not sharing my screen with you that whole time, everybody. Shout out.
Honestly, at first I thought you were just talking, so I didn't say anything. Like, I thought you were just explaining things.
Check the calendar out. Nothing to work on. We just did this demo. Individual day on the 18th. You see it now, right? You're going to work more on the turnaround with action on the 18th. And your final project is due on the 25th for this. Okay? And when you work in Mixamo, these are what you're looking for. You can't get facial expressions. Those are going to be coming from, your Pinterest collection. Okay? So I'm going to just let you all go and work on it. I'll be available on Zoom and in this room if you want to come in and out, but you're free to go and work on this. Any questions before you all take off?
Do you want us to come back and check in with you?
If you want to, I'm here for you. I'll just be working on grading. If anyone has questions about grading, especially if you have reworks that you need me to look at, that's what I would want you to come back on. because we're going to look at progress of this after you get back from break.
Cool, thank you so much.
Yeah, I hope you guys have a lot of fun with this, which means that you're actually released to go on spring break right now.
Have a good spring break.
Okay, yay, bye. Advising, everybody make sure that you do advising. Email me if you have questions. Does anybody need to know who their advisor is?
Yeah, I was gonna ask about that.
Yeah, I can.
Nobody has contacted me about it, and I was like, oh shoot.
Who's talking right now? Let me